Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we create our own stress and where we need to draw that line and go, excuse me, I don't need any more stress here, back off. Um, because what happens is, in order to be a nice person, I don't know if any of you relate to this, but you don't want to say no to anybody. You just want to carry on saying yes to everybody, regardless of how busy you are. Well, what we're going to talk about today is why that really works against you in a big, big way. And half our problem is we don't have the right words. We don't know how to say no politely. And Jody and I always say, for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, that it's like, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify why you say no, right? Very important for you to know. All right, so here we go. First of all, we're going to be talking about how we create our own stress. And then also we're going to be talking about the visit that Benji did with some of the children yesterday. For those of you who know Benji and Judy, Benji turned up with 3 of the 5 children yesterday, and we had such a nice visit. And I wanted to talk a bit about that, and also how I controlled the stress around that. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about yoga. I was trying to do some yoga in the last couple of days, and I thought I'd talk to you about my successes and my failures, but also in relation to how I could continue to create my own stress around that as well if I wanted to. All right. So hi there, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin and does a wonderful job of looking after us, not only online, but also offline. So a very warm welcome to you as well. The weather has been fabulous here. April showers, but really, really good. I want to remind you, as I do every now and then, about my favorite quote of all time, which is smile, breathe, and go slowly. Right? The world is rushing around so fast around us, and what we need to do is keep control. It's really important. Know that Dear Mama Sal is not just me. It's this group of us that get together a couple of times a week and live our lives helping each other cope. And I think it's really important. If you're listening to this for the first time or watching it for the first time, you understand we all, regardless of how calm we may look, regardless of how wise we may be, whatever, we all cope and learn to cope with the help of others. That's the way I always look at it as well. And so before we get on to the main topic, I just wanted to acknowledge that April 2nd was Laurie Life's Journey's birthday, and hope you had a great time, Laurie. And then Jody, of course, had her birthday on April the 3rd. So happy birthday, Jody, and many, many more. If we missed your birthday, it means you're not on the database, so please let us know if you're a regular. Either if you listen regularly, watch regularly, I might not see you in the chat, but if you consider yourself to be a regular, then just make sure we've got, anything that's important to you in that way, make sure we've got it on our list. All right, so moving on to making our own stress and drama. How many of you agree? How many of you, let me put it this way, have grown emotionally? Your emotional intelligence is far enough along now that you can see that you create your own stress in a lot of ways. Now, I understand that some stress that we have is beyond our control in certain ways. Like if you have a health issue. I had an operation. I guess, beyond our control. There's certain things that are beyond our control, but I'm talking about the day-to-day stuff. And that's really important. So let's see how honest we can become. How many of you believe that you create a lot of your own stress with unrealistic deadlines? Do any of you do that? That you set some sort of goal and say, okay, I want to have it done by tomorrow. And I used to do a lot of that. I must admit, one of the things you learn when you retire is how valuable time really is and how much stress I was really under. And one of the things that I can see happening now is just how much stress I put on myself by unrealistic deadlines. Hey, Lotte from Sweden. You love my videos. Oh, well, I love you for too. Thank you. All right. So, you understand what I'm saying? We put unrealistic expectations on ourselves. One of the things I find really important is that when I set a goal for the year, and then I just say, what part of that goal would I like to do this month? Like to do. I'm not going to be a loser if I don't get it all done. All right. Why? Because I'm inclined to set very high expectations on myself. And then what part of that would I like to do this week? In other words, I will take that monthly goal and try and put it into 4 pieces, right? And the first piece, what's the most important piece I want to do this week? Or at least work towards it. You see, I've stopped this. I'm a failure if I don't get it done in time. You will remember I have just finished painting my laundry room, and that's been on my list for 4 years. You know, but it's done. Important. How many of you, as you listen to this, feel under a lot of pressure most of the time? And my question to you is it under your control? Do you have the ability, if you really get honest with yourself, to control a lot of the pressure that comes at you? One of the things I learned about being an employee, I found that I met some absolute idiot bosses. I tried not to be one when I became a boss. But when I was an employee, I met some really stupid bosses, right? And they'd give me a 248 things to do by the end of the day. And I used to burst out laughing. I go, well, we know that's insane. So now then, which are the top 3 things you would like done today? All of them. I'm going, no, you're not hearing me. I want to know which 3 do you want me to work on first, and in which order. And they get really angry because they want you to do all of it today. And I'm going, hey, I probably will. But let's start with the first 3 most important to you, so I don't start in the wrong place. And the trick is to remain really calm. Now, that boss could be your wife, husband, uncle, aunt, whatever, that boss figure that throws more stuff at you than you can do needs to be controlled. So Lotta is saying she feels the other people's expectations. Yes. And yours is about cleaning, hobbies, spending time with family. Okay. So do you have set times when you do those things? You see, one of the things that I've learned, Lotta, is that it makes an awful lot of sense if I say, okay, fine, I have 1 hour to do whatever cleaning I can today. That's all I'm going to allow myself. Maybe it's half an hour. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like there's that sort of tidy up time, and then there's the clean time. Cleaning is a different thing. Hobbies. You and I both know if you're a hobby person that you can go and start a hobby, and the next thing you know, 8 hours have disappeared in your life. Right? So I'm inclined to pick a hobby day, right? Which is I don't have to feel guilty if I do hobbies today. All right? It's my day for not feeling guilty about doing hobbies. Lotta, does that make sense? It's just like that's it, and everybody around me needs to know I'm playing today. So if you want anything intelligent, a hobby day sounds lovely. Yeah, and that's it. And if you've got family, you say to the family, guys, have you got food? Are you able? I don't know how old your family is, but presuming they can sort of look after themselves, if you've got babies and things, obviously you need to spend a little bit more time. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, guys, you got food, you got water, clean clothes, everything else. I'm off to the craft place, craft room, whatever you're going to do, and go play. And they can still get to you if they need to, but basically, you do what is an emergency, and other than that, you go back to your crafts. Think about that. Um, it is said that one should not face big changes in your life without taking a day or two to totally relax your mind. One of the things they say, for example, if you've had a major loss in your life, it's really important to, and that major loss may be, a spouse, it may be a sibling, it may be a pet. I'm not going to judge how much. I know a lot of people that like their pets a whole lot more than they like their siblings. You know what I mean? So whatever is that dramatic to you, um, don't try to give yourself plenty of time between that event and making major decisions. They say in the case of a death in the family to wait a year before you make a major decision, right? Because that's basically, you're not going to make the best decisions while you're grieving. And that's important for you to remember. So take some time to get calm, however long that takes, all right, before you make decisions. The other thing is this: stress is our body's response to pressure. So whenever you feel stressed, check in with yourself. How much of this pressure am I putting on myself? How much are other people putting on me? And how many things do I need to say no to, even if I originally said yes? Because if I'm feeling the pressure, then I am overwhelmed. Or what am I prepared to let go of today so that I can release the pressure? I wonder if that makes sense to everybody. All right. So that I can let go of something because I only have so many hours in the day, especially if it's day for my crafts. Um, the next point I wanted to say is when we're worried about something, does worrying do any good whatsoever? A lot of people said to me prior to going into that oral surgery that I had a couple of weeks ago, "Oh, you must be so worried." I said, "No, not really. I'm either going to get through it or I'm not." "Oh, no, you don't want to think like that." I said, "Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that Joan Rivers didn't think she was going to die under that anesthetics that she had. And so therefore I'm realistic. I've got to, I'm hoping I will make it through. But that's the only issue for me. The rest of it I will deal with." And people sort of, took a double take on that for some reason. But, worrying does nothing unless you use worry constructively. Unless you hear yourself worrying and you go, "Wait a minute, body, what are you trying to warn me about?" And really listen to what's happening and then write down, okay, my mind is giving me this. Have I covered this off? Have I done the risk management around this so that I can let it go? Because quite often, if you worry constructively, it's amazing the things that you will hear that you need to pay attention to that you might not have done. Just a thought. Um, the other thing is, they say that at least 80% of what we worry about doesn't happen. 80% of what we worry about doesn't happen. What's the point of worrying? It's not going to help you. The other thing is, a lot of things we don't have much or any control over, right? And that's the thing there in the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to cope with the things that I can, and and to understand the ones that I can't. We think everything is within our control, and it's not true. We're not that powerful. So much is out of our control. The pandemic was out of our control. We could prepare for it. We could do risk management around it, right? But it was coming. We couldn't stop it. And then some of us, woke up really early with that one and did a lot of pre-planning and filled up freezers and things. And 2 years later, 4 years later, whatever it is now, was it 2020? We are still trying to eat our way through our freezers. But the main thing is to understand um, is that we don't have control of a lot of it. Yes, thanks, Jody. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Not everything that comes at you is within your control, but a lot of it is. What comes at you is not within your control. How you react is. Does that help you? All right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a case study in a second. Um, some of us have a lot of pressure or stress because we're discriminated against, or we are the victims of abuse or hatred. And my honest reaction to that is I have a friend that I made recently in the last couple of years. And I met her online, and we are buds online. And funny enough, not through DearMamaSal, through something else. And she is obviously in an abusive relationship. And is a very controlling husband, and uh, she has always, she was taught by her mother, your role is to make your husband happy. And anything less than that was, that's not your role. Your role is, that's your job. And unfortunately, she married somebody who believed that as well. Okay, so Lotte is saying, what would you say is the difference between worrying and trying to prepare mentally? If there is any. Yes, I do believe there is. Okay, so I believe there's worrying and risk management. So give me an example and I'll tell you which I think it is. All right? If you give me an example and I'll tell you which one I think it is and explain to you why. So the example that I gave was I was about to go into a surgery, and they were going to inject me with a drug. I could worry myself sick about that, or I could say there are just two options. I'm either going to make it through or not. End of story. Oh, so you've got a new task at your job. So first of all, are you worried about the task, or do you have a problem with perfectionism, that you will do it well enough? Because a new task, yeah, that you'll do it well enough. That's perfectionism. All right. So you've never done this task, this type of task before. So really good thing that I would recommend is to find somebody who's done it before. All right. And go chat with them, whether it's your boss or a coworker or a friend that's not even in the companies has done something similar. One of the things I always did when I was in management and something happened to me that I hadn't come across before, I would always find somebody that was in management but higher up than my sort of I saw myself, and then I'd go, "You've probably hit this problem. I need some information. How did you deal with it?" Um, does that make sense? Where it's like you're not the first person to have this problem. you know, Other people have had the same problem, and when you remember that, a lot of people, if you go and buy them a coffee or sit down for lunchtime with them and go, okay, what do I? That's going to drive me mad. What do I need to know that will save me time? And they'll say, whatever you do, don't bother about X, Y, and Z. Total waste of time. However, concentrate on doing this, 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 and this. You already think you know who might be able to help. Just know that asking for help, Lotta, is a sign of strength, not one of weakness. And I don't know anybody, I've always said this to people, I don't know anybody that when somebody comes and asks them for their input and their experience, that says, I'm not going to share it. Whenever I wanted to learn the next step in anything, I'd go and talk to somebody who'd been there and done it. And I want to tell you, one cup of coffee, one meal with them would save me a fortune of time and effort. The other thing is, be very careful, Lotta, not to do what you think they want done. Make sure you know what the end result will look like to the other person. Uh, and the reason I say that is because if I say to you, Lotta, dog, D-O-G, what do you see in your mind? What sort of dog do you see if I say dog? And this is one of the most important things you can remember in your life, be it in relationships at work or relationships at home or anything else. A big white one. Okay. Now I see a big black one. Which one of us is right? Jody sees a little white fluff ball thing, right? Now the reason I see big black ones is I've owned a lot of big black German shepherds, or mostly black. So you understand, when you and I hear dog, and Jody too, when we hear dog, we see completely different pictures. And that is why it's really important when somebody says to you, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, you go away and think about the questions. And the questions are, who needs to be involved with this? What needs to be done? Who, what, why, where, when, and how? Do you want to write that down, Lotte? Make sure you can answer all those questions. Who needs to be involved? What needs to be done? Who, what, why? Why are we doing this? Right? So you understand the reason behind it will actually help you do it correctly. When does it need to get done by? Where does it need to get done? You know, who, what, why, where, when, and how? They might say, well, just do it your way. Yeah, I want to tell you, I've done a lot of things my way, and people have said to me that wasn't the right way. And I go, well, you told me to do it my way. Right? So if you tell me to do it my way, don't complain about it afterwards, because that's what I'll do. The other thing, really important thing, get any instruction that you get given in writing. All right. So say to them, hey, I want to make sure I'm doing it in the right thing. Could you put that in writing for me so I will know what you want done and when you want it done, and any other information you think might be helpful. I want to tell you, people change a lot of the instructions when you ask to write it down. Okay. The other thing is, I've had an awful lot of people ask me to do things that were totally unrealistic. And I have actually looked at it. I said, give me a couple of days just to mull this one over and start working out a plan. And if after a little while I started, this is impossible to do in the time, I tell them that. Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I don't think this is possible to do in the time, unless you give me more people to help me, or you extend the time, or if you prefer, you can delegate it to somebody else. I was never scared to say that. Because when I've been thinking about it, and I'd actually show them, this is what I worked out needs to be done, and I've tried to do a timeline on it, and it doesn't add up to 3 days. It adds up to 3 weeks. So maybe I'll do my best, but no guarantees. That's the other thing. Because it is my experience that bosses are totally unrealistic, and sometimes they need us to just make them wake up to reality. And you need to know what you can achieve, right? And if they say, well, I used to have somebody who used to be able to do this, in that time, you go, fine. I'm not that person. I've never done it before. Pretty certain after I've been doing it for a year or two, I'd probably be very quick at it. But right now, this is my first attempt. It's going to be slow. Realistically, it will be slow. The other thing is, make sure you watch out for your perfectionism. There's one thing that they say a lot about YouTube, all right, which is done is better than perfect. In other words, it is better that I record a video that is imperfect. All my videos are imperfect, as you know. But it's better that I record a video that's imperfect than not to do one at all. And I can always remember when I was a speaker on stage, one of the things I used to say to people, I used to have a subject that I talked about called "You Don't Have to Be Perfect." And I'd say, believe me, I know. If I had waited to be a perfect speaker before I started to speak, I would never have spoken on stage because I'm still not perfect at it. I'm just me. And you either like me or you don't. And quite honestly, it's okay with me. But, people used to say to me, oh, I could listen to you talk about how to cut oranges up, all day. And I go, that's wonderful. But I assure you, not everybody feels that way. Do I care? Not really. And let them go find another orange peeling person. It's like, understand that your perfectionism to try and please everybody is also a very big cause of stress. And the other thing I found were bosses are really quite funny if you nail them to the floor. You go, listen, you didn't get to your job without doing something like this, so therefore, do you want to watch me struggle? Or you do want to help me do it quickly? Right? Because you know the pitfalls. You've been here, done this. Don't leave me hanging out there. I can do it in twice the time if you give me some clues where, which direction to go and where not to do it. Now, on the other hand, I have given instructions to people. I have one story to tell you that I was part of a nonprofit thing. I donated a lot of my personal time to help an organization. And I had one volunteer that I delegated a lot of things to. And, years later, he came to me in tears and he said, Sal, you were the only boss I've ever had, boss, even though it was a volunteer thing. You were the only boss I've ever had that trusted me. I said, well, you never let me down. And he said, no, but I don't understand why, because, 90% of the things you gave me, I didn't do it until the very last minute. I said, ask me if I cared. You see, the thing wasn't when you did it. The thing was, at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, will it be in front of me? Will it be done? Will you work all through the night if necessary to do it? And if the answer to that is yes, then why would I worry about when you did it? All I care about is, did you do it? And did you do it by the time you said you would? The other thing that I used to be very strict on with my employees was, please don't wait until the very last minute to tell me it's going to take longer than we thought. Please do not do that to me. All right? If you start hitting snags and you're going, this is going to take way longer than we thought, come to me early, not late. Early, we have time to make adjustments. Late, we're in panic. So think about that as well, all right? And the other thing is, don't be afraid to say no. And I know that a lot of people just, especially if it's a boss situation, will say yes. Well, can you do this by Friday? Yeah. Don't know how, but yes. You become a workaholic because it isn't possible to do by Friday unless you spend a lot of extra overtime doing it. I used to fall into that trap, so believe me, I know. So what I want you just to understand is how much of our stress and drama we create because we're not setting our own boundaries. All right? We create them because we are not saying no. And one of the things I always remember being on stage once, and I was talking to an audience of women. And this one woman said, but I hate to say no. And I said, then don't. And she said, what? I said, well, then don't. Would you like the words for that? And she said, yes. I said, then you go, oh, like they said, can you please pop by the store and pick up this, that, and the other? You go, oh, I'd love to, normally. But today I've got this, and this. So can you find somebody else? You didn't say no. You said yes, I'd love to, because that's who you are. And they will believe that. And then you go, normally. However, today, yeah, go whistle Dixie. And this woman looked at me and went, oh my goodness, I'd never have thought of that. I said, you're not a no person. You're a yes person. So say yes and then change the narrative. Right? Because people don't want to hear no. They just want some other idiot to do what they don't want to do. Think about that. It is said that reality is the leading cause of stress among those in touch with it. In other words, if you are in touch with reality, you also can see stress, right? It doesn't creep up on you in the dark. You can see it coming at you, or you can preempt it. You can see that it's likely to become stressful. And that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about Benji and the girls coming. Suddenly, towards the end of the week, I got a text message from Benji saying, hey, we're coming up for the weekend. Can I come visit? And bring a cup, sometimes he brings two, sometimes one, whatever. He brings some of the girls, all right, so that we don't lose touch. So I said, of course, I'd be delighted. Now, if he doesn't give me very much warning, do I need to worry myself sick about doing 1,001 things? No. That's very short notice. And, what am I likely to be stressed about? Oh, the state of my house, maybe? And then I'm going, hey, give me more warning. I'd have more time to tidy it up. But what was important, I would do the things that were important. So I had already, because I do it sort of during the year, I see things and I think, oh, if the girls came to visit, they'd enjoy that. So I will buy a couple of things. Now, this time I bought some big rolls of things that it's like a roll of paper with lots of different pictures on it, right, that they can color. And I bought some fancy coloring tools to do that with. So what I did was I cut it, it comes in a big roll, so you can just cut off sections of it. And I've got a big glass dining room table here, huge. So I just stuck with tape. I just stuck down things to color, in case he bought the little ones. Now, the next thing is, what if he brings the bigger ones? Well, what do I know about the bigger ones? The bigger ones are all artistic. So as long as I've got things that they can play with, they're going to be happy. So here was the interesting thing about getting food. Benji said to me, I'm going to be going to Costco to get food for the family for the weekend. So tell me what you need. Now, in the old days, I used to feel that would be wrong. He's coming to visit me. It's my job to feed him. It's my job. I don't feel that anymore, right? He has a very different budget than mine. Therefore, I just say to him, hey, bring whatever you think you and the girls might enjoy that I might not have here. You see, that's a pretty good broad thing. All right. So anything you see that you think the girls will enjoy while they're here that I might not have, feel free to bring it. And then he said to me, would you like me to bring you some steak? Now, for those of you who don't know me well, steak is like a major food group for me. Always has been, and I think it always will be. However, as some of you know, I'm so busy trying to eat the meat that is in my freezer that I have not bought meat, like paid for meat, all year, literally. In 2024, I have not paid one dime to buy meat. I am still eating, and I've got a long way still to go. I thought it would probably take me a month, but it probably take me all year to go through it. But I thought about it, and I went, wait a minute. What have and I said no to the steak because I'd had this oral surgery and I wasn't sure I'd be able to eat steak and all sorts of things. And I walked away from the computer and I went, "What are you thinking? Benji wants to buy you steak." Now, Benji knows how much you like good steak. Therefore, ipso facto, it's an upmarket way of saying therefore, ipso facto, it'll be really nice steak. Even if he just brings you one, it's going to be a steak that you wouldn't be able to afford necessarily. How stupid are you? And so I started to laugh, went back to the computer and went, okay, I must be insane. You offered to buy me steak and I said no. Scratch that. Let's start again. Oh, that would be wonderful if you would care to buy me a steak. Thank you. My concern was I might not be able to eat it. I have now decided I will learn. And he came in. He came in with a family pack of steak. Like this, it had 4 steaks in it. Right? And I don't mean steaks, I mean steaks. They were literally over an inch thick, each one of them. And each steak was like this big. And there were 4. It was so much steak that I cut each one into 3, and each portion was close to 5 ounces per portion. Trying to think what that is in, because we've got, what is 5 ounces? Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get something that's roughly 5 ounces. Okay, so 2 ounces is 60 grams. So we're talking about 150 grams, I think, roughly. That's a decent sized steak for somebody my age, right? So one steak made 3. So those 4 steaks ended up 12 servings for me of steak this thick, marbled. Oh, it was so beautiful. But can you understand how I was controlling what could have been stressful? Right? Quite honestly, if I hadn't tidied the house or cleaned the house at all, he would be okay with that. He's used to that. Right? It would be, how much stress do I put on myself? And luckily, I had had a pretty good cleanup recently. I'm learning to be tidier and do these things. And that's a really important thing, all right? Which is, if you hate having people visit you, it's probably because you don't like the way your place looks. And that is not their fault. That is your fault, all right? Because you're not spending enough time doing the things that need to be done. So it is, or you're not able to. I also understand that one. So, to me, it was like the things I used to be able to do a year ago or so, some of them I can't do anymore. And it's okay with me now. I'm learning that is okay. I refuse to lessen my life by trying to pretend I am stronger than I was. Okay, so have a wonderful night. She's saying, it's late for me, so I'm going to go to sleep. I'll watch again tomorrow. Thank you for the advice and inspiration. You're amazing. I know. So are you, honey, because it takes one amazing person to see another. All right, so big hug. Thank you for asking the question. One of the greatest things I love is when people ask me questions. All right, otherwise I just sit here and flap my lips. So anytime you've got a question, write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. Write to me and I will get back to you or do a program on it or whatever. All right, don't hesitate. I love it. So does Jody. So now here is the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Next thing was, I decided that because of all that had gone on with the oral stuff and everything else, I had let down my exercise routine of getting on Billy the bike and going walking and doing all those sort of things, right? And I know that I've got all the reason in the world, all the excuses, but the point is what has happened to my body. And I decided it is time for me to start getting my body moving again. And I realized I was in big trouble because I know this is going to sound really strange for some of you who are younger, but I cannot sit on my bed upright without the back of the bed coming up to support me. And luckily, I've got a bed that does that. But if I sit on my bed with my legs straight, I'm at this angle. Hang on. Okay, so if this is my bed and I want to sit on it, my angle is like that. I cannot sit straight. All right? I don't have the strength in my back. So what I decided was I need to start doing some yoga and some core exercise stuff and start doing that. Now, for those of you who know me well, you know I am not exaggerating when I tell you, you turn on the yoga for beginners, and the first thing they do is starting on the floor, and then they carry on. And I'm going, stop. Starting on the floor is not an instant thing when you're my age and my lack of mobility. Starting on the floor takes me a couple of seconds. That's not true. It takes me more than a couple of seconds. It takes me close to a minute to get onto the floor safely. So stop it. So I have to keep pressing the stop button. Okay, then I get on the floor. I press the go button again. And it goes, do this and this. And the one thing they do is start with the nice, quiet, meditative pose. And, just so we can start by relaxing, all right? And for those of you who are yoga people, you will know that here you are like this, and you have got your legs crossed like this, your feet like that, and then you have your hands resting on your knees like this, with your hands in the upward position. And then you relax, like just nice and calm. But me, I cannot do that. I cannot bring my knees, my hips, and my knees to create that first thing. Hi, Ange. Angela's saying, I wanted to share that I have an interview with the new casino. Oh, great. In Fontainebleau this Wednesday. All the best. Let us know how you do, Ange. So can you understand that? My knees and my hips will not allow me to bend. If you can imagine, these are my legs. They will not allow my legs to do this. This one does, but the other one, whistle Dixie. All right? It goes about that far. So now, do I stop doing yoga because I can't do the most basic move? No. This is a benchmark. Today, April, I know that I cannot do that. So now it's going to be, how long does it take me until I can? Maybe it'll take me a year. All right? But I'm on a mission. So, of course, I'm busy struggling to do this, concentrating on that. And they're going, now get up, or now the next move is, what is it? A downward dog. All right. So those of you who don't know what downward dog is, it's a very simple move if you think about it. Okay. Downward dog is... Okay. So here, your toes are on the ground like that, and you're leaning forward. That's your back, head's down, and your arms are supporting you here. To do that, you have to have enough strength in your arms to support your body. I don't. So then I said to myself, remember, the thing is not to put pressure on yourself, not to try and do more than you can. Get a sense of humor and laugh. Yeah, that'll be nice one day when I can do that. This time I don't want to go try and get on the ground. So what I decided to do was I would kneel on the ground and then I would lie across my bed. Why? Because my body will not bend. I cannot get my head lower than this. Right? I don't have enough stretch in my legs. So I've got a long way to go. But can you imagine how much I was laughing at myself? Going, got a long way to go. But you see, do I quit? No. No. It's not about quitting. This is like, I can do this. Now, the thing is this, that can I, do stuff like this? So can I do a version of downward dog, but holding my weight in a safe way? I wonder if that makes sense, right? In other words, I'm using all the muscles in my arms. I've got my feet planted on the ground. And now what I'm doing is keeping my back straight. I'm doing the same sort of movement, but safely for me, without having to get on the ground, which will take me 5 minutes. So I have had a lot of amusement. What I did was I bought myself a program, a basic yoga program, so that I could be working on it. And then I realized, what I really need as well is a basic flexibility program. I need to have more stuff like this. I need to have more, basic things that I do to stretch these muscles and get them working again. And if I do it, I know I will have use of those muscles again. If I get back on Billy the bike, I will build up a lot more core strength in my lower part of my body, but I have let the upper part of my body lose weight as well. I lose strength. That wasn't done to me. I did that to myself by not using it. So what I want you guys to understand is I can just say, oh, I'm an old fart and I can't do this anymore. And that would be a lie. It might not be easy for me to do it right now, but it doesn't mean I can't do it, right? If I can't do, the proper yoga lunge, I'm just trying to think, right? That's this one leg right back and this one right forward. And then you put your hands on the ground. Yeah. Obviously, I can't do that. But can I do this and still put that stretch on my legs? Okay, let me do it farther away without falling off, right? Can I still do this? All right, without going on the ground. So this is about the old story. You heard me say this time and time again. It's not what I can't do. What can I do? Don't quit on yourself. Don't say you can't do this. You can. You've just got to give yourself time to rebuild the strength in those muscles. And how will I know that it was worth buying the program? It's when I can sit upright on my bed without having to support myself. At one stage, I was doing some of the yoga exercises sitting against the bed to support my back. All right. And then I thought, I hope I can get off the floor again. Luckily, I did. It took a while, but I managed it. And, the more I do that, the more I do get on the floor and then force myself to get off the floor, obviously, the stronger those muscles are going to get. So the other thing is this, not to be stupid. All right. Don't go on the floor without making sure you know how you're going to get back up again. So don't do it without your phone nearby, just in case you need to call somebody for help. Don't do it without something strong that you can hold on to. Do it next to the bed, which is a strong surface. Do it next to a couch. You know what I'm saying? This is like risk management stuff. Don't be stupid. You're not 18 anymore. You're 76 and your muscles have atrophied. So that doesn't make me a loser. That makes me in need of some help. And my 82-year-old sister does yoga twice a week and is incredibly flexible. She's going out to play golf, if you can believe that. At 82, she's off to play golf. Why? She doesn't have any back problems, doesn't have any twisting problems. Why? She does yoga twice a week and has been doing it for 6 years. So my reality is it's time for me to smarten up and spend some time there. Not for it to be stressful, but for it to help me live a better life. So I don't know what you've been putting off. I don't know what you have been, if you think about the time we spend, and I keep reminding myself this, how much time do I spend playing silly games on my phone? And what if I didn't have a phone? What would I be doing instead? A lot. If I didn't have my phone, I would be doing a lot of more knitting or crocheting or painting or, you name it. We are now tied to these phones in a way that is, really quite scary. So I would ask you to look at that time you spend playing mind-numbing games and say, what could I be doing that uses muscles instead? Instead of sitting badly, think about how we sit, right? We sit hunched. We don't sit up and, you think about all of that and you go, this is not good for my posture. And does it mean stop playing anything on your phone? Of course not. But limit yourself. Maybe 10 minutes in an hour, but just don't sit there for 2 hours doing it. Cell phones are a big distraction. Yep, they are. A waste of time. I have to really get very strong with myself to put that phone down and go and do something. I now I work very hard now to make it the reward. Not that I better stop playing now and go and do something. I now say, if you've done this, this, and this, then you can go and play for the rest of the hour. But then when my watch tells me it's time to drink water, I go, okay, time to get up and do something, right? So think about it. Think about the stress we cause ourselves. And think about which are the stresses that you cannot control, which are the ones you can. Which are the ones that other people put on you and you don't stop them from doing that? Which are the ones you put on yourself because of your perfectionism? Could you eat baked beans on toast twice a week rather than a 5-course meal? You know what I mean? It's just like, it depends. But if your relaxation is cooking a 5-course meal, go for it, right? Because it'd be more stressful for you to do baked beans on toast. So think about it. That's all I really ask you to do, is because we blame everybody else for the stress. I'd be doing something, but I'm so stressed out already. Why are you stressed out? You're not in control. Other people are. Not fun to hear, but it's true. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you for being here. Thank you for talking about stress, because the only way we get to control it is to understand it better. And most of all, thank you for laughing with me and laughing at me. And if you want to smile this week, just imagine Sal trying to get up and down off the bed and trying to do yoga. And if that doesn't make you laugh, nothing will. This is DearMamaSal saying, Jody, thank you for being the admin, and thank you. Angela, all the best for Wednesday. Jody, can you just put that into the database for us so I remember to talk about it next week and find out how she did? Ange, let us know, right? If you know. I know sometimes it can take a few weeks for you to get to know how it went, but we'll follow up on it. This is DearMamaSal saying, thanks for being here. Hope it made you smile. We'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye for now.